You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that then. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know, they ain't more sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, to listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckasher here with the Man Hour. Be sure to head to manhourradio.com and check out the merchandise page. Check out the blog section. Of course, check out the news down there at the bottom right of the corner. I spent some money. Put you guys some live, raw, uncut news up there. So bada bing, bada boom, check it out. Because it'll be helpful to the show. And it would justify me spending some money, I guess. I don't know. Just check it out. But I got my man, the myth, the legend, the peanut butter to my ladies, my man, Beastie Combs. What's going on, Beastie?
What is going on, Buck? What is going on, Man Hour Nation? Belly Up Sports. What is going on, man? I just walked in from work and then Aubrey's volleyball game. So I left work late, stopped at Aubrey's volleyball game on the way home. Her game ended, drove straight here and hopped right on the show. Haven't eaten dinner, haven't had a drink, and yeah. So
first things first, how'd the volleyball game go? Did she win? Did she get some?
Yeah.
She get some kills and some digs and all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah. She played well tonight. They won both games. This team, I think they've only got like 3 losses total on the season. So
wow,
they've been incredible. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to watch. And so watching her grow as a player over the last 3 years has been insane. Can't wait to see what she's got in store come high school.
Yeah, I met you guys up in Indy, last year? Right around this time last year, I think it was. Yeah. And, like, you were saying, like, they were in the lower division and they were, like, just getting killed all weekend long. And then Sunday came, and the next thing you know, they're, like, in, like, the third place game or championship game. So, yeah, I mean, it is crazy how things happen just like that. But I'm glad she is doing well. And when you guys come to Indy again this year, or St. Louis or Cincinnati, we'll definitely meet up and we will get our shirts off.
A year ago today was when we were down in Indy. Yeah, so she's actually not playing on that club team this year, so we won't be doing Indy this year, but we'll make our way down there anyway. We'll find a reason to go to Indy.
Yeah, we'll find a reason to let the kids run around in the hotel room just because. Yeah, but yeah,
absolutely.
So guys, we are live, raw, uncut sports talk here. So we're kind of going off the cuff tonight. And speaking of going off the cuff, Major League Baseball is still locked out. But Combs, you just sat down and you just told me that they're still in a meeting. So yeah, possibly some good news happening.
Yeah. So I went in. I was not hopeful for today. But as I've gone on throughout the day, I keep checking in with some of my sources. And right now they are still meeting. They are still in meetings, still in talks, which to me would signify that a deal is near. And maybe by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, we will have a new collective bargaining agreement and baseball will not be canceled. The later they go, the more optimistic you can be, because if they're staying this late, it means they're talking and they're working on getting that deal done. So it's always a good thing when they are still meeting this late. So, hopefully we'll have something to talk about tomorrow as far as baseball starting up and when games can go and when I can finally be happy again because baseball's back.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the longest they've talked in months, right? Because there have been times when they like literally walk in like 10 minutes later, like the meeting's over. So like for whatever reason, maybe the players' backs are finally up against the wall, and the players like, look, I'll take the $750,000 a year versus zero, right? So maybe they're starting to backpedal a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they, it took the owners 43 days to even come up with a proposal after the lockout, and for for this to not be the onus to not be totally on the owners is crazy to me. But the fact that they are working on it now, I know it's the what do they call that? The 10th hour. They're trying to figure out everything right now and get everything deal. No harm, no foul. If all we missed was a week worth of preseason games, so be it. Get a deal done and let's get some baseball going.
Yeah, so only time will tell me. I'm sure they'll meet probably at least till 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Maybe we'll get a deal done by March 1st of like what you're saying. So we do see some people popping up the chat here. We see my man Alpha Rob, who says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Alpha Rob?
What's going on, Alpha
Glad
Rob?
to see you in there." We do have some Bills news coming up possibly later in the show, so just stay tuned to that maybe. And then Joey, my man Joey, says we should do races on NASCAR's games to win gift subs and prizes. I'm not for sure what you mean by that, Joey. So you're saying
I
should
think he's
we should
doing like a squares or something, or like everybody picks a driver and you get free subscriptions or prizes, man-hour prizes. Joey, the problem is that it's not really free because we would have to pay for it.
Yeah.
and we already put a lot of our own money into this. So I'm not so sure how much more it would work before both of us would have to be divorced and living together in an apartment somewhere.
Well, I mean, I could definitely throw in some money for like some t-shirts, I guess, or something. But like, Joey, hit me up on the side and we'll figure out exactly what you're talking about. Alpha Rob says Leslie Frazier is leaving. Is this the news? No. Leslie Frazier has actually been signed an extension. Alpha
14-year extension.
So, yeah, so he will be there to the life of Josh Allen, and you guys will forever play prevent defense with 13 seconds left in the game. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So with that being said, this is NFL offseason. Things are starting to ramp up a little bit. Free agency, franchise tagging season officially starts March 14th, so we're exactly 14 days away before teams to start delivering the franchise tags to these free agents and start pieces moving here in the off season. So Combs, there are 5 big name wide receivers that are up for free agency this year, and the number one person that comes to mind right off the bat is Davante Adams. Davante Adams is a free agent this season. In 2021, he had 123 receptions with 1,500 yards with just 11 touchdowns. So Combs, with all the rumors that are swirling around Aaron Rodgers, is he staying? Is he going? He's going to retire. Does Davante Adams ultimately end up a Green Bay Packer this year, or do you see him going somewhere else?
I think Davante Adams goes somewhere else. And I know that people are going to razz me for this, and I know people are going to call me a homer for this, but what better way to stick it to the Packers than to come to the rival Chicago Bears and get to play with Justin Fields? I'm just saying, new head coach, new offensive game plan, trying to get him some weapons, money to spend. Why not put Davante Adams in a Bears uniform?
Because it doesn't make sense. Because they still have Allen Robinson. Wait,
don't have Allen Robinson. He's a free agent.
He's a free agent too, right? So,
yeah.
So I ultimately think if Davante Adams is going to go anywhere, it is going to go be a team not in the NFC. He is going to go to an AFC team. I'm thinking like the LA Rams or something to that effect. He is not going to go to an AFC team. He's going to go to an NFC team. He is going to go to the LA Rams or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or hell, maybe even the New England Patriots. But he is not going to be a Green Bay Packer by the end of the season. And we see my man Kevo popping in the chat here. What's up, Kev?
Gentlemen, how's it going? It has been so long.
I know, man. Too damn long. We keep missing you. Every damn Monday, it seems like I end up working overtime and shit. And, man.
Yeah,
man. So let me ask you this question. NFL free agency is out there. We're talking the top 5 receivers right now, and Davante Adams is number 1. What do you think Davante Adams is going to end up, or is he going to stay in Green Bay?
Well, it's interesting because
say Dallas and we fight.
No. It's not going to Dallas. But it's interesting because like you just don't know what rumors to believe, right? Aaron Rodgers wants to be the highest paid quarterback by far or whatever with back-to-back MVPs, which if they do that, they can't really afford Adams. I really don't know. I don't think it's going to be in Green Bay. And if I was Adams, I wouldn't even want to be in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers is like he's doing the Brett Favre thing. And that's just kind of annoying. If I had to guess, there's too
Just say
many
the
teams.
Bears. Just say the Bears.
Well,
He's
no,
not going to the Bears.
I wouldn't go to the Bears. I wouldn't say the Bears.
I didn't say you
like-
would go to the Bears. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. That's what I meant. Jeez, man. Like, all right. So I would say, let's just. I'm literally off the top of my head. Hold on a second. Let me go look at a list of teams real quick because
Let me go ahead and call my sources. Hey guys, is Kevo waffling around? Yeah, Kevo is waffling around because he wants to say Dallas Cowboys because
I don't want to say Cowboys.
because Michael Gallup is up for free agency. They are talking about trading Amari Cooper to clear out some cap space, right? So why not give up?
Why would you clear up cap space to then go get another receiver to take that cap space right back up?
Because let's be honest, Amari Cooper has sucked since he signed ever since he's been to Cowboys. Look at his on the road games versus home games. Home games he does pretty well. He's probably a top 10 receiver if you just count his home games. But the minute you put him on the road, he is like a last Luckler X Factor guy. I mean, he is just not very good. I'm talking about X Factor for the Kansas City Chiefs. Dante Hall, he was so electric, and then he never did anything for you. Amari Cooper is not what the Cowboys need, to be totally honest. I would trade him for Devontae Adams in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't think the Packers would trade for Amari Cooper. I like so a couple things. I was looking at teams with either a young quarterback or like a quarterback where there's possibilities, like Indianapolis trying to upgrade from Carson Wentz. Jacksonville I think that might be a little too sorry for Adams to end up in Jacksonville.
I think Jacksonville is a playmaker away from the playoffs.
You
I
get
don't
them.
know, I don't. I mean, I know you're a troll, so like I don't really want to.
No. I'm being flat out serious because look, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a good quarterback once he gets the system in there and like is able to grow as a quarterback. He will succeed. Yes, he was going to be a bust with Urban Meyer as a coach, but guess what? Urban Meyer is not there. They still have Travis Etienne there, and the only thing they are missing because the defensive side of the ball is pretty solid. They're a top 12 defense in the NFL last year. They are missing a dynamic wide receiver. Devontae Adams would easily make them the best in the South.
Cleveland
You are
and
out
Baltimore
of your
could both
mind.
use, Cleveland and Baltimore could both use Devontae Adams,
They could.
especially if Jarvis Landry leaves Cleveland. Obviously, New England could use a number one receiver, period. But
Yeah, but they don't go for that flashy, stud wide receiver. I mean, they did it once with Randy Moss, but other than
we
that,
all thought he was over the hill,
They
though.
veered away with it. Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see them going the Devontae Adams way. Devontae Adams to me is more like, I like the Colts idea. You threw out the Colts there. Another team that could really use them, that would really help their offense, would be the Detroit Lions inside the division. That's kind of a nice destination for them.
I like Atlanta as well.
And
with,
Calvin, what's his name? Calvin really
Julio?
wants out too.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So like I feel like I like Atlanta as well. But honestly, yeah, I mean like and I guess Philly, like Philly could possibly use a receiver that's a game changer. But
So
I mean,
Kevin just thinks he can go to half the league.
Yeah. I mean, like if
He's
you're not,
the
if
best
you're not-
receiver in the league. Yeah.
If you're not Buffalo, like you don't want him to come in and like completely like take over like what you already got going on. So like, but like Miami could use him. You know, New England could use him. The Jets. I mean,
why not Buffalo? What's the problem with Buffalo picking up a wide receiver and pairing Diggs and Adams? You don't think that you think that takes away too many touches from Diggs?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, from Diggs, yeah, I feel like it does. Diggs reminds me a lot of those players in the NBA who like they score a lot of points, but they shoot a lot of shots.
Yeah,
like the Kyrie Irvings, where it's like it's the volume.
Yeah.
Like I like the amount of targets for this dude. Like if you look and you're like, oh, you know, Diggs top whatever the last 5 years in catches and yards and blah blah blah. But then you're looking at like the volume and it's like, dude, like he gets the ball every 3 plays. Like
what about the Chargers?
I think the Chargers is one of those sneaky ones where it's like they already got Keenan Allen. Like they've got
Williams is a free agent.
I was going to say I don't know where Mike Williams is, but like, do you really? In what Super Bowl team has ever been built off of paying 2 number 1 wide receivers?
San Francisco 49ers back when they had Rice and God.
Owens wasn't getting paid wide receiver 1.
No, not Owens. It was Rice and God, why can't I think of his damn name?
They never really had two big guys at the same.
Except, I mean, the Rams with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, and then Marshall Faulk was that greatest show on turf. But like, I feel like with the way the cap is set up, you really can't be paying two wide receivers,
right?
Wide receiver 1 money because it really hinders what you can do, you know, the rest of the way. That's $20 million that can go towards, you know, offensive line and defensive line, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to like refrain from teams that have, you know, already a number 1, which is why Cleveland and Baltimore jump out at me and Indianapolis jumps out at me because Indianapolis doesn't have like they don't have like a who?
John Taylor was a second wide receiver. He was he was a number 1. He would have been a number 1 on any other team in the league.
Sure. No, I'm with you.
So, Kevo, you've been kind of waffling around the answer for 10 minutes here. Where is Davante Adams going to go? I mean, you gave us 15 teams.
I can't. Y'all are sitting there asking me to freaking like pinpoint exactly where he's going to go with it.
Hey, make a guess and stick
I need you to put 5.
I said Chicago.
I need you to put 5 stacks on it, which is wrong.
Well, all right. I'm going to guess. If I had to guess, I'm going to guess Green Bay, but I just don't.
Yeah.
That's the safest bet.
I think the writing is on the wall that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams will both stay in Green Bay because that is their best. But I think they know that is their best shot to win a Super Bowl right now is in Green Bay.
Can we talk about like is Aaron Rodgers annoying to anybody else? Or is it?
Dude, he's terrible. He's a diva. He's a clown. Like I don't.
We can talk about him an hour too.
I'm really just kind of like past this. Like, dude, just like he's always trying to be in the news for something, and now he's posting stuff on Instagram like he's back in high school. And it's just like, dude, like what are you doing?
And then he went through this like 12-day cleanse where they like shot stuff up his nose.
Oh, dude, that shit was nuts. Like I read about that. That is a freaking weirdo, dude. Like he and Kyrie Irving, boy, they're just like out.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
That's why him and his fiance broke up. They're like, you let them put their what in your what? And it was just like, she was like, I'm out.
So speaking of a 12-day cleanse, Odell Beckham Jr. kind of gave us a sob story on Twitter just the other day about his ACL injury and his second surgery in two seasons, but he is up for free agency as well. This year for the Rams, he had 27 receptions for 305 yards, and if you pile that on with the Browns, he had 17 receptions, 232 yards. So right around 600 yards receiving this season for Odell Beckham Jr. Kev, you are the guest of honor tonight. Does Odell Beckham Jr. stay in LA, retire from football because 2 ACL injuries in two seasons is tough, or does he end up somewhere else?
I don't think he's going to retire from football. I also do not think. Let's see. He tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, so if he wants another ring, he could probably just, sign on for the little low and just kind of ride that out. But so I really don't even want to count next season, because I feel like that shouldn't count. But the next season where he plays again, like a full season, I don't think the Rams are the spot. I think that he's got to do a lot of blocking, probably a lot more blocking than he would like. And their wide receiver room is just crowded. I think he has shown going to LA that he can still play. And I think that he's going to command a good amount of money. Not like elite wide receiver money anymore, but like some solid money.
Like New England Patriots on the cheap money?
I think that he is one of those dark horses for that Chargers wide receiver 2 spot.
See, I think that you look at a guy like OBJ and how coveted he has been for Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's been chasing that dark horse for a long time, and I think that they find a way to land OBJ this offseason. I think the Patriots are a good fit for him. Young quarterback, somebody that a good target, good number 1 target, because they don't have any good targets in New England. I think OBJ would be a great fit for the New England Patriots. I think you give them a chance to take back that division again.
If he didn't come off of a second ACL in 2 years, I think that you'd be correct. But I don't see,
That's why they get him on the cheap. A 2-year deal at maybe $5-6 million a year.
I would bet good money that Odell's agent would be fired if he took a 2-year deal coming off of an ACL injury. Absolutely not. But I get your logic. But yeah, like I think, young quarterback, a system that is geared towards the wide receivers eating. I think that the Chargers is one of those examples where it's like, that's a good dark horse. You start talking about, I'm looking at these chats here. You have Chris Godwin. I think Gallup, ACL as well. I think he goes back to Dallas.
If you're an owner, though, do you give OBJ more than a 2-year deal as an owner coming off a second ACL?
Absolutely not. 1 year prove it.
I give him 1. 1 year prove it, especially because if he comes back, because ACL's 8-month injury, so he'll come back, week 6, week 8, and if he doesn't look like he's gonna be worth a damn, I don't want him on for a second year, unless you do like a 2-year, like, all right, we'll do 2 years, but we can get out of it after a year or whatever the case is, or make it a completely incentive based or whatever. Then you can kind of talk about it. But like, I don't foresee anybody wanting to give him 2 years, even if it's low risk, and I don't see him wanting to take that either.
So I think a team that would give him 2 years out there is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because Chris Godwin is up for free agency as well, and I think he is going to go to your New England Patriots, Combs. I think Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, I think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to look for a warm weather team, because let's just be honest, I have an ACL tear, and every time it gets cold outside, I'm like, man, this sucks. So he wants to be warm to where his second ACL injury can kind of flourish and like kind of heal a little bit.
The Chargers are also in LA.
Right.
Get that.
Yeah.
Is he from LA, or like what's the draw to LA?
LA is just like,
it's LA. What do you mean? What's the draw to LA? It's
Odell
LA.
Beckham is one of like the biggest just like stars in sports. Like, besides the fact that he's really good at football, he's got like the LSU brand behind him and like LeBron James, and like just like the whole like LA, like you can do things. You start finding yourself in movies, finding yourself, in commercials. Like LA is just like that market for people who want to market their brand, and he has been very, very into his branding, not just in playing football. And so that's why a lot of people play for the Lakers and things of that nature, because LA just provides you something that just LA and New York, and right, like he's already done New York, right. And so I feel like that's for branding purposes. He's a man that's all about, not all about, but he's a man about this about his brand. And
which one of these wide receivers that we have here is going to end up on the Bears to replace Allen Robinson? Because the Bears are going to sign a top wide receiver. They're going to.
The Bears will go for one. I don't know.
You don't think they'll sign any of these guys?
Well, you saw what happened with Allen Robinson this year. You think that one of these wide receivers is going to be like, oh, I want to go there? Like, no.
Nobody wants to
with a new head coach and a chance to play with Justin Fields and a chance to be a part of bringing back this organization from what it has been. Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that appeals to a guy like Devontae Adams, who, wouldn't mind sticking it to the Packers organization after watching what they did to him and what they did to Aaron Rodgers. You look at a guy like Michael Gallup, who they could probably get for 1 year on a prove-it deal. You look at a guy like Chris Godwin. Yeah, I think Chris Godwin would be an absolute fit for the Chicago Bears offense.
You know who the Chicago Bears are going to get?
My words.
No, they are not going to sign. They are not going to sign. They are not going to sign a top receiver, but they are going to cherry pick some receivers from the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're going to sign a top receiver.
No, they're going to pick like a McCole Hardman or somebody to that effect from the Chiefs to the Bears because the Chiefs want Allen Robinson. For whatever reason, the Chiefs are infatuated by this guy. Matt Nagy is now on the staff, so maybe he has some type of in with Allen Robinson, bring him over, and we give you guys like a McCole Hardman or some other receiver, a Byron Pringle, which is going to be a star
because he's a free agent.
Well, but I'm saying
free agent at that.
Well, but I'm saying Allen Robinson will be a Kansas City Chief by August.
I see. Here's the thing, Combs. Like, I know you're a Chicago homer, so like,
it has nothing to do with being a homer. It's like every time that the Bears lose a big wide receiver, they go out and they get another one. It was a few years back. They went out and got the kid. I can't remember his name from Carolina. What the hell was his name? Big name guy, freaking can't remember the hell. He was a tall guy too.
Kelvin Benjamin.
No, yeah.
Kelvin Benjamin?
No, it wasn't Benjamin. I can't think of his name. But anyway, anytime that the Bears lose a number one wide receiver, they always, as an organization, every single time go out and get another one.
I understand, but what you have to understand is it's a two-way street. And like, I don't think that like the value that you're putting on the Bears situation, like I don't think that it holds that way to like.
Dude, money talks though, man. Muhammad, there we go, Muhsin Muhammad. They went out and got Muhsin Muhammad when he was coming.
I do remember him.
Yes, so they went out and got Muhammad. He was the most coveted wide receiver. Before Muhammad, they went out and got what's his face out of Denver,
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall. They always go after that, and they get them. And I don't know how, because trust me, as a Bears fan, I wouldn't expect any of these guys to want to come to Chicago. I don't want to be a Chicago Bears fan. So I don't expect any of these players to want to come and play for the Chicago Bears. And for those of you watching right now, Buck had to scoot off to work, so he kind of just bowed out and left us here to fend for ourselves. So, but the Bears always find a way, and it's not being a homer. I'm just telling you, they're going to sign one of these guys. I was just asking which one you thought was the best fit.
I think Chris Godwin is the that's who I think. Like, everything kind of aligns that way. He's very quiet. He's a quiet dude, right? Like, you don't really hear a lot from Chris Godwin. He doesn't like stick out. He reminds me a lot of he actually reminds me a lot of Allen Robinson when Allen Robinson was a free agent out of Jacksonville. Very, very quiet, but very, very good. His play kind of does the talking, and that's kind of that. So that's who, if I had to guess, ACLs, I feel like the Bears probably stay away from ACLs. They probably want a receiver that they can lock up for a few years so that their quarterback and their receiver can have some consistency together. And so
absolutely. I think Godwin would be a great fit for the Chicago Bears. I think he would fit in the offense. I think, what the Bears are starting to build. I don't know if Eberflus is the right guy. I don't know if Ryan Poles is the right GM, but I'm willing to give them the opportunity to be because of what the Bears just got out of. It's kind of like that relationship where you're like, you get into a relationship and you get in a relationship with the hot chick who's a little bit, high maintenance, and you got to buy her all this stuff. And then you get out of that relationship and you're just tired of that relationship, right? You're tired of all the gimmicks and you're tired of having to buy all the Gucci bags and all that stuff. So then, there's this girl who normally you wouldn't give the time of day to, but you're like, let's just see what it's going to be. And it turns out to be something good. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, let's see what it might be at the end of the day. I don't know. I'm hopeful as a Bears fan. I'm just hopeful because I'm tired of being the laughingstock of the NFL.
I promise you're not the laughingstock of the NFL. As long as the Jets exist, you'll be all right.
It's true. So we're gonna pay the bills a little bit. We're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, there is some breaking MLB news. Not breaking the way that I would like to break it, but it's positive. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Give us 2 minutes, something like that. Whenever this video stops playing, that's when we'll be back.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. 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 Anything negative, cause I just wanna hear it out your mouth, yeah. Give me fuel, it's a tool that I use to go ahead and run my fucking mouth, yeah. I take shots, I take loss, I make shots, I miss lots. That's how you get big box, you get yachts, you swing lots and pop off a big shot. I ain't done chasing, got big dreams, bigger things, impatient. Who's at the top think they need replacement? Who's at the top think I'm gonna erase them? Face it, I don't give up quick, I don't give up shit, I won't give up this. Cause I know that I want it, know that I'm on it, I'll make it, I promise. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
All right, we are back. I saw you laughing in the background, Kev. Buck says, send me some videos of you just kind of showing off the gear. Doesn't say what they're for. Doesn't say what we're going to do with them. And he got us out here looking like a fool.
Oh, geez. I will say this, man. I need a new phone case. So, like, whenever y'all want to send me a little man-hour phone case, I could use one. I got a new phone and I got no case. I'm riding dirty out here.
I got you. What you got for what you got? iPhone?
Yep, iPhone says 13.
13? All right. I'll hook you up. What color you want?
Nothing crazy. Just
I got the black one.
Yeah. That'll work. Work.
All right. But so before we went to break, did say we had some breaking news. John Heyman just reported, I see Jesse Rogers reporting that they're not done for the night and that they are really close and really hopeful that they'll have a deal by the end of the night. So it's progress. It's better than what we've heard over the last, few weeks. I think this thing has gone on long enough. Kev, I don't know, how closely you follow baseball or the lockout. By the look on your face, I could probably not much. But from what that, to me, it's kind of a joke because you got these guys arguing over what they're going to do. And then when you actually break it down by the numbers, the minimal amount of money that they're arguing over, like I want to go and meet the owners and just slap each one of them in the mouth, because you're arguing about a total of about $27.6 million. And that's what we're arguing about. And that's why we don't have baseball in a league that generates $10.7 billion a year. We arguing about $27.6 million.
Yeah, and to be clear, obviously everybody watching, we are clear and aware that $27.6 million is a lot of money, but we're talking about when they talk billions, like 27 million, like come on. Yeah, no, when it comes to the MLB and laughing, I feel like the MLB is in a lockout every 5 years. Over one thing or another, and then I don't even like take that stuff like seriously, because I mean it's coming. Like they're gonna do what they need to do. Like we don't actually have like, we're not gonna be out there with replacement players and neither side, whether the MLB players or the MLB owners, like are really able, like really want to like sink their teeth in and like buckle down on whatever the heck the issue is. It's always something. It's always minuscule numbers of dollars. Again, in the grand scheme of things, not in our normal people lives. And yeah, man, like I knew something was going on, but like I didn't like. Yeah, I just can't. I can't. You know how I feel about baseball. Me and baseball have a very hate relationship, and it's just another example of why.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, because we are talking about millions of dollars into the general guys like us who are just everyday guys who go to work, fucking like me 6 to 6, and then do the show for 2 hours a night. You think of $27 million as it's a number you might never see in your lifetime, right? Unless you win the lottery. But $27.6 million in baseball dollars, and I broke this down to my boss, because my boss is a sports fan too. We were talking today. I said, that's realistically what the owners are doing to the players now on our level, is me coming to you and saying, hey, look, all this I've done for the company over the last year, all the money I've brought in, all the good things that I've done. You agree that I'm doing a good job. I would like $1 raise. And you as an owner come back to me and say, I'll give you a nickel. Like, you know what I mean? And that's basically what it boils down to. We're talking about $1 versus a nickel in baseball money. And it's insane. It's stupid. And I think they'll have an agreement done before the end of the night, but it's driving me nuts.
Is there like a deadline they have to have this by?
So they have to have a deal. The MLB posed their own deadline. The league did as of by the end of the night tonight to have a deal done, or they were going to cancel opening day and a week's worth of regular season games. And, I heard a lot of people say, oh, well, wait till the players start losing money, because then they'll concede and they'll make a deal. Well, you guys are idiots and you don't understand the business of baseball, because if there's no games, the owners are losing money too. And if the owners are losing money too, that's really when somebody's going to cave and start giving in, because the owners ain't about losing money. The owners are about making money, which is why, making 65% of the $10.6 million or billion dollars that they make every single year is on the table, and they don't want to give up another, even if you called it $100 million or $200 million, instead of 10.6 or $10.7 billion, you get 10.5. Get the hell out of here. Like, what are we talking about right now?
Yeah, well, and deadlines make deals, and that's always been the thing. That's why you always see a bunch of trades at trade deadlines. That's why you always see, like all these players in the NFL are going to get franchised like the day before the tag, because that's just the way it goes. Like, deadlines make deals, and the MLB say, you know what, if we want this to be done, we need to just go ahead and give them a deadline, and they'll basically force their hand. Someone's gonna cave one way or another, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to lose money, and it's the same way every time. It's the same cycle, and it's just another episode in the of the same book.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, you start getting players like was it Bryce Harper today tweeted out, I think it was about 4:30 when he tweeted it out, that it was him in a Tokyo Dragons uniform, and like he was going to go play in Japan. Like that's going to make a difference to the Philadelphia. Like if Bryce Harper decided to go play in Japan, they'd be like, all right, cool. Like it's not going to make a difference on whether or not they make a deal tonight. So, but then you see all sorts of, like I saw one of the guys from the Yankees put out a LinkedIn account, tweeted out his LinkedIn account. So, I mean, the players are starting to get funny with it, but they're going to get something done. And the later it goes into the night makes me think that it's going to be tonight. The fact that they're still meeting, the meeting started at 9:00 this morning, they're still going, makes me think that they're going to have a deal done tonight.
I would love to be a fly on the wall and just like hear how those are going. Like, how many profane words are being said? I just would love to hear it.
Well, you know, Max Scherzer is in there for the Major League Baseball Players Association, and he's so the season was supposed to start on the 26th. That's when game checks start, because you start playing preseason games. Every day, because of Max Scherzer's contract, every day he's missing $232,000. So you get to right now, you be about 5 days into it, you're already out $1 million.
Oh my god, dude!
So
my Lord.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane.
Oh my god, dude! What in the world?
Yeah,
that's $232 million a day.
$232,000
$232,000 a day.
Yeah, $1 million a week, and a pitcher pitches once a week, so he really makes $1 million an outing. Yeah,
that's nuts, man. That's nuts. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll by the time I'm off of this, we'll get some news, and you'll be able to break it to all your faithful.
I hope so. I hope so. It'd be nice to break it before we get off the air. I think it'll probably most likely be something that we hear. Like, we'll all go to sleep. There won't be a deal done. We'll wake up. There'll be a deal done. That's what I think. I think it's going to go into the late hours of the night, and they're just going to finally.
Where are they negotiating this at?
They're in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
Well, good for baseball. Good for baseball.
So let's get to, there's some stuff going on in football, right? And it's one of the things that actually I wanted to talk about with you when it first happened, and then we've had a whole bunch of things go on, and we haven't been able to get on the show together due to various reasons on my end with work and stuff. So one of the things that we've got going on is this Brian Flores deal, right? So Brian Flores puts through this lawsuit stating that the Rooney Rule has, these fake interviews that aren't for real, and I'm thinking to myself, no shit. And then he's also got saying that, oh, well, the owners are offering me money to lose games. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's touch on the first part of that. Okay. I've gone into depth on this show talking about how I don't really feel like it's a racial thing, that there's not a whole lot of minority coaches. And I get that for people listening, especially people of color, that think that, oh, well, this is just another white guy who just doesn't get it, doesn't understand. So then I started digging deeper, right? I dig into the numbers. And you look at the minority coaches that there have been in the league. And out of the 27 or 28, I can't remember the exact number, it was only 5 of them that actually had a winning record in their careers. And then you start looking closer at like the Rooney Rule, from the institution of the Rooney Rule in 2002, how many have had winning records? Only 2 of them have had winning records. One of them being the longest tenured minority head coach, which is out there, Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. And so then people keep coming, well, you got to have more minorities. I said, okay, I'm with that, because I really wanted to see Eric Bieniemy in Chicago. I thought he would have been a perfect fit. However, what gave me pause for that was Ryan Poles, minority GM who the Bears just hired, came from the same organization that Eric Bieniemy was playing in, and he didn't even hire the man. So it starts to make you wonder, is it really a racial bias when it comes to head coaches, or who are the opportunity? Is it a Leslie Frazier who has a terrible record as a head coach? We saw a guy in Lovie Smith get an opportunity in Houston, an opportunity I don't believe he's going to succeed in, because when he was with the Bears, yes, they had a winning record, but he also had a Hall of Fame defense. And then he went to Tampa Bay and he was 6-24. And going to Houston, you're getting more of a roster that's more like that Tampa Bay team than you are that's like that Chicago team that you had. I just don't feel like he's going to be very successful there. I also saw how he destroyed the Illinois program. And I love Lovie Smith. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he does. I hope he wins the Super Bowl in Houston if he can. I don't think that that's a realistic expectation. So you tell me, is this a thing that you feel is based and is predicated on racial bias by owners who are white owners, and they don't want to hire somebody that, as they say all the time on ESPN, they don't want to hire somebody that doesn't look like them? Is that what we're looking at here, or is it just there's just not a whole lot of candidates out there?
All right, so here's the biggest thing. I'm trying to look up something here to see if it backs what I'm thinking. But the problem where it comes to this bias is less about like necessarily the number or percentage, and more about like the type of job that they get. Right. So you got, hired to go take on the Detroit Lions. Where were they at when he got hired? Where was Miami at when Brian Flores got hired? Where were the Jets at when Herm Davis? Where were the Vikings at when Leslie Frazier got hired? Like, and then you look at like, okay, like we couldn't get anybody to hire, any black coaches, but then when they get hired, they got to go to Houston, right? Like they got to go to these places to be set up not for success. Meanwhile, Cliff Kingsbury gets to get hired with no experience whatsoever outside of being trash in college with Patrick Mahomes, and he gets Kyler Murray in Arizona. Sean McVay gets the Rams, and I'm not trying to say that these guys aren't qualified, but it's just like that's the stuff where it's like, yo, like how come we don't see a minority coach get, Robert Saleh at the Jets? He gets the Jets last year or whatever. And I guess it's kind of a matter of like, oh well, it's the bad opportunities that would have coaching vacancies. But Urban Meyer, like we've been talking. I mean, Urban Meyer ain't been fit to be no coach since like
he's a clown.
Left Ohio State, but he gets Jacksonville over anybody.
Yeah. But so it's kind of like one of the things. When coaching positions open up, it's because they're in a bad state, right? Like you just said, the coaching positions that are opening up, like when Robert Saleh takes the Jets job, what other opportunities were there? Was he offered any other positions that he turned down? Because you look in, as you just spoke about Jacksonville actually offered Byron Leftwich the job, and I don't know who the hell Byron Leftwich thinks he is, and he was like, I'm only taking the job if I can hire my own GM. And they were like, well, then you can go back to Tampa Bay. So
yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like we don't really know all of like the ins and outs of stuff. And that's the thing. Like especially people we see in social media, they come out and they're so quick to comment, and they're just like, oh, no black coaches, disgrace, blah blah blah. Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, but like if Eric Bieniemy, if I'm giving him an interview and he does not interview well, like do not be mad at me because I didn't hire him. Right. But again, like we're talking like we talked about like Jack again, like it's less about the state of the team and like what's set up. And it's like David Culley went to Houston knowing they knew he was gonna fail. Houston wasn't going to hire Lovie Smith. Houston was going to hire Josh McCown. And then this Brian Flores stuff came out, and they said, you know what? What's it really going to look like if we go hire Josh McCown with zero coaching experience over Lovie Smith or whoever the heck else?
Well, they could have just done what the Dolphins did and been like, "Hey, bro, can you just say that you identify as biracial? Can you just say?
I was listening to an ESPN podcast, and they said that's Logic's cousin on the white side. But I think that one thing that I heard what's his name? Spencer Hall talking about. He said that he feels like one of the reasons could be because like the pipeline, like there's no allowance to let new talent in, right? Like we saw, how many times did we see Jeff Fisher? How many times did we see, obviously like all these coaches get recycled.
The pipeline is the position coach, or the coordinator position, right?
But that comes from coaches in college. But what happens is Bill O'Brien gets fired in Houston. He go work for Alabama. Right? Lane Kiffin, all right, I'm going to go over here, go work for Alabama. And so what happens is we keep recycling the same coaches. Like, yo, you were a head coach. Let me go make you an assistant coach. What's his face from Dallas?
Mike McCarthy?
Nope. Defensive coordinator.
Why
am I drawing a blank right now?
Yeah, I do it all the time with names. I know who you're talking about, though.
But anyway, leaving Atlanta, we were like, yo, get him up out of here. And now it's like 1 year defensive coordinator. Let's get him back. Because that's just how it goes. We recycle. And I think it's less a race thing. We just recycle, Mike Zimmer in Minnesota, right? He's going to go be a defensive coordinator for somebody, do a great job because he's a smart coach, end up getting another head coaching job. It's just the same cycle. And that's
Dan
why
Quinn, that's what I'm talking about.
Dan Quinn. Jesus Christ, I cannot believe I can't remember. He's the daggone defensive coordinator of my favorite team, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think that that's just kind of the rotation we're in. I don't know, and not knowing everything about everything, right? Like we're not in the room.
Yeah.
We're not hearing. Maybe Eric Bieniemy is like, yeah, like I'm gonna turn that down because Andy Reid ain't gonna be here forever. I got Patrick Mahomes on a 10-year deal, I guess 8 more year deal. Why would I leave? If I was Eric Bieniemy, I wouldn't leave. That makes no sense. I'd be like, I'm gonna stay right here and wait my turn until I can have my team. But that's just me. So obviously Byron Leftwich, yeah, I'll do it if I can hire my own GM. Okay, well, there's a reason why he's not hired. So let's just say Eric Bieniemy was like, I want to stay in Kansas City, but instead he said, all right, I'll take this job. And Brian Leftwich wasn't being stupid, and he took one. Now we're having a different conversation. Right. Now there were 2 hirings, but it was on them. So I won't say that it's. I've never been one to ever say anything is fully racially incentivized unless it's like said and proven. And I mean, I don't know how to explain. And I think what happens is when we don't know how to explain something that is so off, why are there so many of this, but then so little of this?
Right.
Like we don't know how to explain. And the only difference we can see is color. Like I think it's just easy to make that the reason.
And then you have the opposite argument when you got 73% of the league is minority players. How come we're going to argue that we don't have enough minority coaches, but we're not going to argue that we don't have enough white players, right? Because you've got to make it what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But if you say that, now you're racist, right? Because you can't argue against racism with racism because people never see you as a qualified argument.
I will say this: I feel like part of the reason you can't say why don't we have enough white players, because I guess in as far as players are concerned, white is the minority. But I think it's because like when you look at the positions, like let's be honest here, we're not seeing a lot of white corners,
right? Well, because the thing is that let's be honest, right? The minority players, the black players, the players out of the Dominican in baseball, they're just better athletes. So maybe the white guys maybe are better coaches.
But again, that's something that you can see. Like you can see when he ran a 4.2 40 and the dude over there ran a 4.6. You can see, like, that's the stuff I'm talking. Like when you can see the difference,
right?
It's like, okay, now we hold on. Like that's the difference. If everything was even, and everything might not be even. Again, from our perspective, we can't see how this coach coaches in the locker room and what would make this coach more qualified than this coach based on X's and O's because we're not there. So all we see is a coach whose offense is doing X, Y, and Z, and this coach. And the only difference we really see is the color. But when you talk about the athletes, it's like, okay, I can clearly see he jumps higher or he runs faster or he throws better or he blocks better. He's stronger. Like you can see that stuff. Obviously, players from the South tend to run faster.
Right.
God knows why. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why you can't say that you need more white players because there's a reason why you see that difference.
Right.
But like I said, I just think that it's easy, and we've in a society now where we hide behind, and I need people not to take me the wrong way when I say this, but we hide behind things like phrases like mental health, racism, and anti-blank, right? Anti-LGBTQ, like we hide, like we say that stuff now, and it's like this automatic shield, like no one's allowed to like on it. They're the very thing that you're condemning, right? If you say, oh, that's racist, and I say, well, no, it's not racist because X, Y, and Z, then it's, oh, well, then you must be racist then. Or whatever. And so that's kind of the thing when Ben Simmons says, oh, I'm not playing because of my mental health, we're all kind of just forced to be like, oh, okay, because we don't know. But if I say, are you sure about that? Then all of a sudden I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
So that's kind of,
and then when he gets traded, all of a sudden his mental health is fine, clear, and he's ready to go.
So that's just kind of how that stuff goes. To Drew's point, is there a proven difference? Like we said in the coaching, we don't know.
There is if you look at the records, right? If you look at the proven. I mean, you look at Mike Tomlin, who to me might be one of the greatest coaches of all time. Never had a losing record. If you look at a guy like, you're going to bring in Andy Reid, maybe one of the greatest coaches of all time. A lot of clock management issues, but I mean, the guy's a proven winner. I think you got to look at the record. Obviously, there's more of a track record with the white head coaches because there's more of them, and there's been more of them over the course of the history of the league. But what you're looking at is the record, and I think that Brian Flores deserved a head coaching job, right? And here's why Brian Flores deserved a head coaching job. That man was winning games in Miami with a front office that wanted him to lose. That to me, that to me elevates his 9-win season to like a 13 or 14 win season, right? Because your front office is rooting for you to lose. They're offering you money to lose games, and you're saying no when you're winning, right? Now, where Brian Flores falters is his relationship with Tua and the things he says to Tua. Where Brian Flores falters is the fact that he's now got the stigma of being that guy who's going to come in and he's going to want to take control of everything. And that's going to put off a lot of GMs and a lot of owners because the GM's going to say, well, that's my job. And the owner is going to say, well, that's what I hired my GM for. And so that's going to put off a lot of guys. But to me, I was rooting for Brian Flores and Eric Bieniemy to come to Chicago because I thought that those guys would have been great fits, and I think that the Bears ownership needs a guy like Brian Flores to come in and tell them, "Hey, chill the hell out, sit the hell down, let me run things so we can actually win football games."
But here's the thing about the records, right? What is Jim Caldwell's record in Detroit?
He was a winning head coach in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, because they were winning some games. They were going to playoffs with Jim Caldwell.
But he has no job. But
Jim Caldwell has turned down opportunities too, though.
Maybe
he actually came out and said he's turned down three offers,
and that's fair. But like this goes back to what about Marvin Lewis's record?
Marvin Lewis as well has said that he's taken 7 interviews in the league and he's turned down 2 offers.
Okay, so when you look at and then like what if the offer is Houston and it's like no shit
exactly, but you know what, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't looking for a head coach. The Los Angeles Rams aren't looking. You know what I mean? Like
I know that, but like my point is, like I said, when the Cardinals were looking for a head coach and had the number 1 pick, and the Jaguars were looking for a head coach and had the number 1 pick, but then like when Houston's looking for a head coach with the number 3 pick, or got no picks because they traded them all away for whatever. Like this is where it's like, I think that it's less about black coaches and more about why it seems like some
I see what you're saying.
Job like. It always seems like the black coaches, when they get hired, they're the one that gets hired like in a position that's supposed to fail. Build this up, then we go bring in the next guy who usually tends to be white, and then boom, all of a sudden that's how you get your Tony Dungy swap.
But isn't that how coaches make their names though, right? Because like if you recall, Bill Belichick was terrible in Cleveland. And then he was one of those guys that couldn't get hired anywhere. Then all of a sudden the Jets were going to give him an opportunity. He took it, and then a day later quit and became the Patriots head coach. Like there are coaches out there that people don't want to touch. Like nobody's going out and offering Bill O'Brien a head coaching job right now.
No, nobody's. But guess what? After what Josh McDaniels did to the Lions, if that was the question,
the Broncos, you mean,
or the Broncos, whoever he removed on. The question becomes like, oh, well, if that had been, a black coach, like, does anybody ever go back to him? Like Brian Flores might not ever get another head coaching job again.
He will
after this, unless it's like, so like it's just the fact, because now it's gone beyond just his coaching, and now it's like, okay,
the fact that he got a job this quick in the league.
Well, it's Pittsburgh. You know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Mike Tomlin was the only one who could really go to the league and say, yes, I know he's got a lawsuit against you, but I'm bringing this guy on because I need him on my defensive team. Like, he was the only one that could go in and say that. And not only that, but you got Brian Flores putting forth this lawsuit. And when you look at Brian Flores' coaching staff when he filed the lawsuit before he got fired from Miami, how many minority coaches did he have on his staff? Zero. You know what I mean? So you're not giving anybody opportunities either on your own staff, but you're going to go and file a lawsuit. You've got the right to pick your own staff. Every coach in the league picks their own staff. And to not have any minorities on your staff, but then to fill out a complaint saying, "Oh, well, it's unfair and it's biased," to me, that's crying wolf, if you ask me.
I hear where you're coming from. It is not Brian Flores' responsibility to make up for where the NFL lags. Also, Brian Flores was Miami's coach for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a problem in the NFL for longer than 3 years.
I agree.
So like I don't think it's fair to, because for every Brian Flores with no African Americans on his staff, you got what's his face in Detroit? What's his name in Detroit? Who has nothing but black people on his staff, and obviously, obviously, Bruce Arians hires a lot of black people as well. And Rob, none of his lawyers being black has zero to do with the cause. Your lawyers don't have to be black for you to stand up for a black cause. But I just don't. I don't feel like. Again, it goes back to like I don't know if it's the amount of. I mean, obviously people say this because this is the thing. The amount of coaches that are black, blah blah blah. But it's like there's not a lot of great opportunities out there. And you're looking at the records. The one black coach.
Do you want Leslie Frazier leading your team? If the Cowboys spot gets opened up, do you want Leslie Frazier as your head coach?
I don't know. No. That doesn't mean I wouldn't want Leftwich or Bieniemy or.
You don't want to see. The thing to me about Leftwich is you have to prove to me what you can do now without Tom Brady, because before Tom Brady got there, your offense was terrible. And then Tom Brady got there, and for the first half of that season, your offense was terrible. And then Tom Brady said, "Hey, let me take over this play calling," and then all of a sudden, you guys win a Super Bowl. So let me see where you're at without Tom Brady before I want to know how good you are. Because look, Jacksonville was going to give him a job. He's got history with Jacksonville. I understood that move by Jacksonville for them to bring him on. You were our quarterback for however many years. You've got a history here. But then the way he turned them down and say, "Oh yeah, but only if I could hire my own GM," and blah, like, get the hell out of here. Because what have you done in this league that gives you that authority? If Mike Tomlin becomes available and Mike Tomlin comes to your job, you offer him a job and he says, "I want to hire my own GM," then you listen, right? Bill Belichick, you listen. You listen to guys like that, but you're not going to give Brian Flores his own GM. You're not going to give, Josh McDaniels his own GM. You're not going to give, Matt Eberflus his own GM. That's not how it works. You have to do something. You have to earn your spot before you can start making demands like that. And Byron Leftwich he isn't that guy to me.
I don't really understand where his mindset was at with that. I'm not really. I'm not. Yeah, I don't really understand that. But
Alpha Robbie trying to push Leslie Frazier off on everybody. He wants him out of Buffalo. So Alpha Rob's a Buffalo Bills fan, and he just wants Leslie Frazier out of Buffalo. He's willing to give you whatever you want for Leslie Frazier.
Yeah, that's all right. You have to give me some cash considerations.
Yeah, like all of it.
That one. And nothing against Leslie Frazier, but
you have to pay me something like $100,000 a loss to hire Leslie Frazier.
Jesus Christ! Oh yeah. But I mean, it's a healthy discussion to have. I think that that may be interesting, Drew, if he purposely sabotaged himself, Leftwich. I don't know why he would do that. Who knows?
Just not wanting the job. I mean, just turn it down.
The interview, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
or just turn it down. Yeah. That way you don't sound stupid, because now you risk somebody else being like, "Well, I don't want to interview him because he might not like our GM."
Right.
But
speaking of interviews, do you think that are you surprised that the Rooney Rule has brought about sham interviews?
No. I'm not surprised that it has. That's the one thing about rules. Any rule ever that's ever been created, there are people who are going to try to get around it, or there are people that are going to do things that, technically we're following the rule, that's just, and that doesn't matter if it's the NFL, if it's, school, middle school, it doesn't matter. That's what people do is find a way to get around the rules. Especially because at the end of the day, nobody ever wants to be told what to do, but rich folks really don't like being told what to do.
In my argument against that is, of course, there's sham interviews, because look, if let's put it out there, right? If Bill Belichick becomes a free agent head coach tomorrow, right? And you interview Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick is interested in taking the position, and you want to offer him the position, it's the right decision because he's Bill Belichick, and he fits your scheme, he fits everything you want to do, he's saying all the right things, you still have no choice but to go interview a minority head coach to give him a chance. Now, granted, maybe you bring in a Brian Flores type who just blows you away, and then you start to think about it, and then you start to think about, well, this guy won a whole lot of Super Bowls, and Brian Flores hasn't, so he went. You know what I mean? Like there's things to that.
The difference is I don't tell other people that Bill Belichick's my guy before the interview with Flores.
But everybody knows, like, if
it doesn't matter. Like that's the whole point. Like if you can't, everybody can know all day. If they say, oh, Kevin's got to choose between Brian Flores and Bill Belichick, he's got an interview with Bill on Monday and Flores on Thursday. Everybody can know what the decision is that they would make. But that don't mean that on Tuesday I'm like, yo, hey, it's gonna be Bill. And before like that decision was made and relayed to another coach who got nothing to do with the whole situation besides the fact that, you know, they used to coach for him or whatever it was. So like that's where the shams are like, all right, look, like most people, when you're in charge of hiring somebody, like let's say you run your own company and you got 6 resumes in front of you, and you look and just like one resume has a bunch of spelling errors, one resume doesn't have a lot of experience, and then you got this one resume that's just like, damn, like, you know, like it's what you're looking for. Like, you don't judge by resume, but when you go into the interviews, your eye is going to be drawn towards that resume that caught your eye, but you do the interviews for a reason. And that's when you figure out like, okay, you got a bunch of typos, but you also can give me something that they can't give me. It's obviously different in head coaching, but this is why you play the games. Because if we just said the favorite was going to win every sports game, we wouldn't watch sports.
And that's, I mean, it kind of goes down to every level, right? Like I am so I'm a field supervisor for a construction company, and I do all sorts of interviews all the time, trying to fill out my teams, trying to get, you know, subcontractors for this, subcontractors for that. And there are always those types where, you know, you've got, you know, when it comes to roofing, you know that when you have a Mexican crew versus a crew of white guys, that Mexican crew is going to work harder. They're going to work longer hours, and they're going to get the job done before that white crew does. It's just going to happen. So I always lean towards, you know, hiring the Mexican crews on because I know that they're going to get the job done. And now, if I were to say, oh, I'm going to hire the Mexican crew, but I'm only going to pay them half of what I would pay them, then that is a problem. But if you're going to pay them the same thing to do the same job, it's okay to understand that somebody else is more qualified to do the job that you want them to do based on who they are, based on their work ethic, based on what they do. That's okay to have. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where people have to kind of loosen up on the fact that sometimes what's the word I'm looking for here? Sometimes what people perceive is going to bias their opinion as to what they're going to do. And the perception in the NFL is that white head coaches do a better job right now. And until somebody like Mike Tomlin, like Brian Flores, prove them wrong, that's when things will change, right? Because for how long in the NFL was there not the opportunity for mobile black quarterbacks, right? And then all of a sudden the league changed. And now all of a sudden the Michael Vicks came in, and now everybody else was looking for their Michael Vick, right? Donovan McNabb. You know, earlier in the game, you had Warren Moon and guys like that, Randall Cunningham, who kind of, you know, were ahead of their time. But now everybody's going that way. So the league can change, but right now the perception hasn't changed that because the records haven't changed that. There hasn't been that guy other than Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin walked into a pretty good situation, and the Steelers just don't fire head coaches. It's not what they do. But they've had like 5 head coaches throughout their entire existence, which is ridiculous. They don't fire head coaches. But you look at you've got to wait for somebody's got to come out there and change that stigma. And I think that Mike Tomlin has taken a great step towards that. You find another Mike Tomlin. I think Brian Flores can be that guy. Brian Flores is going to get another opportunity in this league. You watch. He's going to get another opportunity, and he deserves to have another opportunity in this league for what he went through in Miami and winning games when they were paying him to lose games. Well, even though he said he didn't take the money, like, that's, to me, when you're winning games, even though your front office doesn't want you to, that speaks volumes about your coaching ability, if you ask me. And so you get guys like that, but don't tell me that, I hear people out there say, oh, Leslie Frazier deserved another shot. Lovie Smith deserved another shot. All these other guys out there that deserve another, and they don't. Like, they went into teams and just had bad. You talk about Leslie Frazier when he was in Minnesota. I mean, they had a good team in Minnesota, and he couldn't win. And so those are the things that once that changes, then the stigmatism will change, and then all of a sudden you're going to see this thing flourish, and then you'll never hear about it again. Well, same thing with the quarterback position.
How many people does it take to do that? Because
2 or 3, right? Because Michael Vick was one. And then who came in after Michael Vick that captivated? Who was the next quarterback, black quarterback who was mobile? Trying to think now. You had Michael Vick, and then there was Russell Wilson. Then you got Kyler Murray, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Justin Fields. You know what I mean?
But so Marvin Lewis went 131 and 129 and 3 with the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Zach Taylor in the first 3 years was 16 and 32. And then Lovie Smith went 84 and 66 with the Bears. Tony Dungy went 92 and 33 with the Colts. That's already 3.
But Tony Dungy isn't trying to coach again. Tony Dungy isn't trying to be a head coach in the NFL.
That's not the point. The point is, you said that there have to be people to come and change this when it comes to the records. And that's 3 off the bat right there.
Lovie Smith got another opportunity right after he left the Bears.
I know that, but what I'm saying is,
but he went 6 and 24.
But that proves the point I made earlier, which was that it's just recycling. It's just recycling, and because there were not so many of them in the first place, when you talk about recycling, there's not. It's like if you recycle a pool of coaches, and there already weren't that many black coaches in the first place. And then when you recycle Lovie and then he goes 6 and 24, okay, well, you're not going to recycle him again. I mean, he just got another job again, but what I'm saying? Like, you don't really recycle again, 2-3 times. Like, that's the reason why, which goes all the way back to, like I said, my very beginning point, which is it might be more of the pipeline and actually getting new talent, because even going all the way down to the college level and finding these coaches that can do these things and actually do these jobs. But, and obviously you got Mike Tomlin, who's kind of the best example at 162 and 93. So, but again, Brian Flores, Jim Caldwell is 28 and 24 with the Colts. Brian Flores had a winning record every year. So it is what it is. And Drew, there weren't too many choices in the first place. That's exactly what I'm saying, which again is the whole problem. That's where people feel the problem is there aren't that many choices in the first place. Regardless of I never like to use records to judge quarterbacks, and I won't use them to judge coaches either, because it's a team game. So I don't really want to use these records. I'm just, to your point of I'm looking at the records, I am too. And we still don't have a lot of black coaches. I mean, we don't have black coaches getting opportunities that Cliff Kingsbury gets. Right. And I think that's the big one where it's yo, dude, where the hell did he come from? Why is he getting hired? Or I don't know where Zach Taylor came from or whatnot. I know Sean McVay was an assistant coach in Washington and blah, blah, blah. And Shanahan as well. But like, I think that's just the thing where it's like, can we, we feel like, especially people in the media anyway, they really feel like it's hard to believe that the same kinds of jobs that, would a minority coach get a Cliff Kingsbury big opportunity from the jump. And I think that most people believe the answer. That's the unfortunate part. And again, I don't want to, I personally don't want to chalk it up. And like we said at the beginning, I don't want to chalk it up to like strictly race. I feel like there's so many other variables when it comes to getting a coach than just like the color of their skin. Like I just refuse to believe that it's that simple. Like, oh, well, he's black, I'm not gonna hire him. Like I don't think that that's what it is. But like, there's not a lot of, head coaches in college that are black that are like up there, Nick Saban, we talked Nick Saban and we talked about Urban Meyer and we talked about, we don't talk about a lot of like black powerhouse coaches, Dabo Swinney and Jimbo Fisher. I mean, these are all white dudes. Yep. So, Herm Edwards doing pretty good, but he's at Arizona State, and I don't think he wants to coach in NFL again.
He doesn't want to coach in the NFL again, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but there are a lot of coaches who do deserve other opportunities. Like, I would love for Jim Caldwell to get another opportunity. I would love, to see Marvin Lewis get another opportunity. Those are guys who are proven winners in this league. I'm just not so sure they want to coach in the NFL again as head coaches. Mm-hmm. Because they've been given opportunities and they've both admittedly turned down opportunities. So, if I don't know, like it's just one of those things, but it's always nice to have a good conversation because, people always, especially on social media, forget about it. You try arguing something on social media, you're just going to get trolls all day long. You'll be arguing with the Mike Buckheisters of the world all day long. And it's not worth the time, right? Because you just get yourself frustrated. Like I did the other day when I got banned on Facebook for 7 days. What? Yeah. Oh, you ain't here. So there was a video of a police officer who was detaining another guy, a white guy, and he had a camera on him. And so these guys go around to all these different traffic stops, and that's what they do. They put the camera on the cop, and they try to bait the cop into certain situations. And he was calling the cop all sorts of derogatory names that I can't say live on the air. And all I said in the comments was, that dude needs to get knocked on his ass. 2 minutes later, Facebook banned me for 7 days. I'm like, yo, what are you kidding me? Like, this guy can post this video saying all these words.
I'm about to say, did Facebook think you meant the cop needed to be knocked on his ass then?
No, I said the dude holding the camera.
Oh,
like, I don't know. I don't. So whatever. It is what it is. So I'm banned from Facebook for 7 days. So that's always fun.
That's hilarious.
We're going to get to another break. And then I got another topic I want to chat with you about. We'll be back. Give us, I don't know, a couple minutes. Whenever this one's done playing too.
Hey gang, it's Commissioner Cooper from TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. That means we give the people what they want. Expert fantasy advice, leading medical and legal analysis, free contests, and innovative games to keep you entertained. Watch us live with the Tiki Live app on the Belly Up Sports channel, subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us on all social media platforms. Visit TSSFantasy.com today for all the latest updates from the fantasy show of the people. We put the fun in fantasy.
Yeah! I use mayo over sour cream, yeah.
Right. That's because you have high cholesterol. Okay. If you drafted Julio Jones,
you got ghosted.
This is amazing. TSS Fantasy is like an orgasm. If I had a cigarette, I'd smoke it. I'm pumped to be here. This is the show of shows.
TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on this display. Is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic with this logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic. Go!
To last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em.
All right, welcome back to the Man Hour. It's your boy BC Brandon Combs, along with the real Kevo. You are watching Man Hour. If you have not yet done so, make sure you click like, subscribe, share on all the platforms that you are watching on. Helps us out more than you would know. If you're watching us on Belly Up Sports TV and you like what you see, head over to manhour.com or youtube.com/manhour. Become a member, $2.99 a month. Pick up yourself some hot Man Hour gear. And now that we tried to pay the bills, Kev, I want to talk about some NBA stuff, right? So in the background right now, I got my Bulls on the TV getting trounced by the Miami Heat. The Bulls just can't beat good teams. I don't know what the hell it is. They're 0-10 against the top 3 teams in the league this year, and about to be 0-11. So it's bad. But Ben Simmons, we talked about it a little bit earlier, is a player who wanted out of his situation in Philadelphia, and in his situation, he started talking about his mental, the mental illness and not wanting to be playing. He wasn't mentally prepared to play. He needed to sit out, needed some time. And then gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets in the trade for James Harden. And all of a sudden, he's ready to play. Now, to me, this is a setback for people that are actually dealing with mental illness, right? This is something to me, like, I would not take lightly if I was dealing with a mental illness, because it just looks bad, right? It just looks like this guy just used mental illness to get out of a situation that he didn't want to be in. And that's a terrible look. What are your thoughts on that situation?
So my first thing that we have to make sure before we speak on this that we understand about Ben Simmons is he's not the most mature. Okay, so I don't want to ever come out assuming someone is a liar, but if it was true that he was making that up just to get out, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me coming from him, and I hate even saying that about it. I do want us to make sure that we're careful because he's not ready. Now it's the back injury or whatever. I do think that what this sets is a dangerous precedent because I crying. I understand the way our society has evolved, has adjusted. I mean, when you say I need a mental health is your health, right? Everybody's seen the pictures, the memes. So now it's my job now actually has you get 3 mental health days as part of you get your 10 paid vacation, your 5 sick days, and then you got 3 mental health days. And so we're at a point now where society, mental health matters, and it should, right? And then Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, et cetera, et cetera. So there's levels to mental health. If you don't feel like you can step on the court in front of your fans at Philadelphia and play because you don't think that you have the mental capability to do that, knowing that you're gonna get the boos, that you're gonna, it's gonna be tough, at least for the first little bit. Then sure, that means that you're not strong mentally, and maybe that's what he meant. And I'm not strong enough mentally to go out there and perform, especially at the level I want to perform. Maybe. If it's a cop-out, okay, this is the word that I'm going to use to get out. Because whatever, if it's a cop-out, then it's not really something I can respect. And I know he's young, but even at his age, that's not the way I was trying to go about doing things. I've always rooted for Ben Simmons. I always thought that he's been a bit overly scrutinized, unnecessarily. Yeah, I know people want him to shoot, but he can't shoot. So if he shoots and goes 0 for 10 every game, y'all gonna be mad that he's shooting. Y'all get mad at Westbrook for shooting the ball, then you want to get mad at Ben Simmons for not shooting the ball when he at least knows he don't need to be shooting the ball. So I've always thought that he was for what he, but there's certain things now I don't know. And it sets a dangerous precedent because you got people bowing out of the Olympics for mental health, not going to events for mental health. And I'm not saying that they're in the wrong for that. But what I'm saying is, everything now we can use mental. When I first got on here, we talked about the shields. We talked about, we use racism as a shield. We use mental health as a shield, and we use anti, blah blah blah, anti blank as shields now. And it's an easy shield to use because if anybody refutes you on it, they look like the insensitive one. Prove mental health. You can prove an injury. Okay, I got an ankle, I got a back, I got a wrist, a knee, whatever. You can't prove mental health. But it is very hard to come out and all this stuff. It's very hard to believe that it's not about, the last time we saw him in a Philly uniform, he was scared to dunk on Trae Young and threw it to Matisse Thybulle when he just all he had to do was go up and dunk the ball. I want to jump to judge him. I don't want to jump to act as if I know what's going on. I do know that he had the situation with his sister during the playoffs last year. That was tough for him. I did know that was going on. And you just don't know. You just don't know what's going on in people's brains, man. And but that also makes it easy to make that a shield because nobody's really going to question that, and it's tough right now for us as outsiders to make statements when we don't really know,
Yeah, no, for sure. You never want to comment on someone's, mental health because you don't know. The same reason why, I never comment on a player who says he's injured, right? Because you don't know. You don't know what's going on. You don't know their level of pain threshold, that type of stuff. Same thing with mental health. You don't know what's going on inside somebody's head. I mean, it's been proven over the course of time, right? Would you have ever thought that Robin Williams had mental health issues? You know what I mean? So you don't know what somebody is going through and what's going on in somebody's head. But what you can comment on is sort of their actions surrounding it, right? And that is where Ben Simmons is at now because it's I got mental health issues. I'm not mentally prepared for the season. I need to take time off for my mental health. And it's oh, word, I'm going to Brooklyn? Oh, let's play ball. And that's where it's I mean, it just sounds like you were using something to get out of a situation. And that's where that's what gives me the pause because I hope it's not true. I hope that, not that I hope that he has mental illness because that would be a terrible thing to say. But I hope that he wasn't just using it to get it out of a situation that he wanted to be out of, right? Because we talk about, it goes back to, let's talk about Sha'Carri Richardson, right? Sha'Carri Richardson gets held out of the track because of smoking weed after losing a family member, and it helps her to detach. So she, likes to smoke weed, which it's legal in pretty much everywhere now, but it's not legal if you run track for Team USA. And then you look at the, whether or not they should be allowed to do things to help them with that. Should they be allowed to take drugs to help them cope, like marijuana, which has known medicinal values, right? And you look at guys like in the NFL, like Josh Gordon, who's constantly getting suspended for smoking weed and popping up his tests and drug protocols and all that stuff. So where do you how do we know where Ben Simmons is at, and when do we get to form the, I don't want to say opinion, but the correct answer to what are you dealing with, and how is this going to affect you moving forward in your career? Or is that just something we're never going to be privy to?
I don't think it is. I don't think it's anything we can be privy to, because the reality of it is, mental health doesn't have one face, right? We know what a torn ACL looks like, or when you do an MRI, we know what a broken ankle looks like. But because mental health, I could be like, my dog got neutered last week, stressing me out, blah, blah, blah. It's really weighing on my mental. It could be my dog passed away, right? Or it could be, everybody's different. And I think that we make the mistake as people to us in one way doesn't mean it wouldn't bother somebody else. And even if everything is timed terribly, dude, of course, you haven't been to a Sixers practice or Brooklyn's practice, and you sitting on the end of the bench, but you wouldn't come to no Sixers games. What's going on? If his situation, if his environment was a detriment to his mental health, well, yeah, no wonder that when he got in a new environment, that changed. But we can't call that. And I don't think we ever will be able to. The only person who ever really will know is him. And unless he slips up, which maybe might happen, right? He might slip up and say something in the media that contradicts. That would be a story.
Right.
But otherwise, I do think that being in Philly is one of the main reasons why he felt his mental health wasn't where it needed to be. And if that's the case, then a change of scenery is the solution. And all of a sudden you see him getting better and you go from there.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about Sha'Carri Richardson, and that was another thing that I wanted to touch on. We touched on it, not really on the show. I touched on it on a solo show that I was on, but I'd like to hear your opinion. So Sha'Carri Richardson comes out and they start talking about the Olympics, and she comes out and is talking about the 15-year-old Russian skater who is allowed to skate after popping for some illegal some sort of illegal steroid or something like that. It gets caught for what they call doping in the Olympic Committee, right? So she is found by a judge to be able to skate. She's 15 years old. And Sha'Carri Richardson says that's the difference between being a white athlete and a black athlete. And to me, that was another time where I'm like, well, this isn't about white or black. This is about you chose to do something that was illegal as a grown woman and admitted to it. And while I don't think there was anything wrong with it, and while I think that it shouldn't be that big of a deal, this is a 15-year-old girl who was told by her adult coaches and the adults in her life and told, hey, take this. It's going to help you. Take this. It's going to help you. A 15-year-old girl is still really, really impressionable when it comes to what they need to do to become an Olympic athlete, as opposed to a grown woman who chose to make a decision, which she admitted she knew it was a risk, but she was in a situation where she needed to.
Yeah.
And while I understand that, I think there's a clear difference here. And I don't believe that the skater should have been allowed to skate. I think that you broke a rule, regardless of how you broke the rule, regardless of who told you to break the rule. You still broke the rule, and I don't think you should be allowed to participate. But she was. And I do feel like there is a difference in the situation in that aspect.
So was... Oh, goodness. Excuse me. It's late. So was Sha'Carri like, what were the rules behind that with the skater girl? Because go ahead.
Yeah, so she was just not allowed. So it was doping. It was something illegal in her system, and she popped. And then she, what do they call that? Appealed the decision to not allow her to skate, and a judge overturned the decision and said she could compete in the Olympics.
Did Sha'Carri Richardson appeal her decision?
She did not.
Okay, so that's step number one. I mean, if you're Sha'Carri, you kind of owned up to it, and then you were like, you accepted the consequences. If you would have appealed, what if they'd have said yes, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you didn't even. That's like me and you both, asking a girl out, and then she says no, but then you ask her out a second time, she's like, and you ask her out when she's in a different mood. She's like, oh, okay, well, sure, why not? And I'm like, oh, that's the difference between being black and white, like, because you decided to do everything you could to see if you could get back out there. That's not fair. But again, these shields coming full circle once again, like if anyone says that, all of a sudden it becomes like me saying that makes me the villain. But and I don't know all the like details behind, okay, well, this rule says you can do this technically and whatnot. But like at the end of the day, like you mentioned, like that girl's 15. There's a reason why you don't get tried as an adult when you commit crimes at 15. Right. So, but you're a grown woman and you knew what you were doing. And at the end of the day, I've never been one who's been okay with people like avoiding self-responsibility. Like at the end of the day, way over there, I didn't do what I needed to do to make sure that I could race over here. And that doesn't change regardless of whatever happens. I'm responsible for what I got going on, and I face the consequences. If you don't want to be put in compromising situations, or situations that allow others to treat you unfairly, then don't let yourself get in those.
Yeah.
If she, and I understand, and I personally don't think she should have. I got no problem with none of that. But you put it in their hands. That's why when they tell athletes, don't put it in the ref's hands. Don't put it in the referee's hands, because they are very easily liable to make a mistake. And it wouldn't have got to this point.
Yeah.
If you don't put it in their hands.
And let's be real, Kev. I mean, if we both ask out the same girl, I'm gonna win 10 times out of 10 anyway. So that's just how it goes, bro. That's just
I'm gonna let you have that one.
So we've also got this thing going on in the Ukraine, right? In the real world. So we got Russia going on in trying to take over the Ukraine. We got a war going on and people losing their lives and all this stuff. And then it comes out yesterday that the Poland, the Czech Republic, and Sweden are refusing to play Russia in the World Cup qualifiers. And so the World Cup came back and said, we're not going to ban them from the World Cup, but they can't use their flag and they can't play their anthem. So I came out yesterday and I said, why would we put these athletes who have sacrificed a lot to get to the World Cup, why would we take something away from them based on the decision of their president? Because could you imagine if we decided, oh, we're not going to let some of our American athletes participate in sports because of some stupid shit Joe Biden did or said? You know what I mean? It's just, you can't do that. You can't stop these athletes who again, they sacrifice a lot of stuff to get to the level that they're playing at, and to take that away from them because their president waged war. Because I guarantee you, he didn't call up the Russian soccer team and be like, "Hey, you guys cool if I invade Ukraine?" Like, this wasn't their decision. This was his decision. So why are we going to force Russia out of the World Cup? To me, I wouldn't like that decision if that's what the World Cup decides to do.
Well, think about it. This is very similar. Think about it in college basketball, right? Rick Pitino at Louisville. That nonsense that went on, he got fired, he's gone. But guess what? They can't play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
For however you do with it whatsoever. But that's the rule. And what happens is, it sucks for the players who are involved, but you're punishing the country more so than you're punishing.
Well, that was sanctions on a university, though, so I think it's a little bit different because that team has an affiliation with the NCAA, whereas the World Cup doesn't have any affiliation with the politics of Russia or Ukraine.
I understand that, but we're talking about these players for Russia are basically getting punished. The opportunity they've worked hard for has been taken away from them because of as a consequence of other people's decisions and actions. It's the same thing in the NCAA. It's the same principle. It's just a different situation. Yeah. And I think that I wouldn't know, but the thought behind it is probably like, okay, well, if we don't let Russia, we let these players play, but we don't let Russia get to the pride of those players holding, because just like it's a lot of pride for a player to wear their country's flag on their shirt and play whatever sport it is for their country. It's a lot of pride for the country to be like, yo, these are the kind of players that represent us. And you take that away from Russia and saying, hey, like, you don't get to be represented. It's just these players playing with whatever. Now, if they decide like we're just not going to let them play at all, I mean, it sucks. But again, like you hope that it like kind of leaves the message of, hey, like, we're not okay with this. The rest of the world's not okay with what you got going on. And we're not going to do this. This also sets the tone for whatever comes next, right? Whatever world event comes next that requires all these countries, like, hey, just go ahead and don't expect to be here either. And it's not fair, but life ain't fair. And what it really comes down to is just, this is what we have to do, or this is what ends up having to happen. This is the decision we're going to make. Sorry, right? Like it really does suck. But the reality of it is, like, when it comes down to this, like, the world is so much bigger than sports. I think that sports is the one thing that can really bring it all together, but the world is so much bigger than sports. And right now, what's important is letting Russia understand that this is not okay. And we can't jeopardize that because these guys want to play World Cup soccer. And again, it sucks because they've worked their whole lives for this, and they might not get another chance. I mean, it's
no, I get it. I get it from both ends, because I do. I understand the other countries not wanting to play against them. I get it. It does suck. I just, God, it's just a tough situation. It's a tough situation what's going on over there in the Ukraine. Everything is crazy. But Kev, so we have a little tradition on this show. We love talking with our guests when they come on. So, one last question I have with you before we move on is, So baseball still hasn't come to a decision. They might come to a decision. What do you think is going to happen before we wake up tomorrow night?
Tomorrow.
Kev, it don't matter what you think, man. That's the tradition on this show. We mute our guests before they leave. Man Hour Nation, rise up.